G'day Flosstube, Anna aka Moranalis, back with another stitching update. It is Saturday, July 11th, end of school holidays around here. Kids are back to school on Monday. Means I have to go back to work and, regular life resumes. I hope you all are keeping well. For those of you who are within Australia, Queensland's borders opened yesterday, so be safe, but have fun if you get a chance to travel. We did a bit of traveling on our school holidays, but we did not cross the border. We got very close, actually. We must have been within a couple of kilometers of the New South Wales border, but we stayed in Queensland. It was really nice to fit in a road trip. We went to Brisbane. Generally, we are far too busy flying back to the States or flying over west to see my husband's family, so we very rarely get to actually have a holiday and enjoy our own state. So because nobody could go anywhere, we thought this was an opportune time to fit that in. And I think the kids had a good time, so, and I made it to the stitching store. More on that in a bit. So without further ado, I've actually got a fair bit of stuff I wanted to go through today. I may end up having to split this into two videos. We'll see. First up, the usual whips. I think, unlike usual, I'll do the stash as it comes up. There'll be a little bit for the end. Then I realized about the start of July that in the start of January, I had done the typical things and write down my goals for the year. And when I say goals, it's a bit loose. I don't really make hard and fast goals. And in fact, sitting in my bed that evening in July, I couldn't have even honestly told you what I'd written down. It clearly was not front of my mind focused goals. It was more brain fart goals. So I thought, well, this will be cool to go back and look and see what I've actually accomplished. And spoiler alert, I think I could have been a bit more ambitious with my goals. So figured we'd have a look back at that and see what I've achieved. And since we're doing that, I thought, well, why don't we do a finish parade for everything I've finished in the first 6 months of 2020. Which, given it's been sort of a cruddy year all around in every other regard, finishes, it's actually not too bad. But that's particularly the bit where I wonder if I'll split into a different video. So if this one's really long, it's probably in this video. If it's not, check the next video. So without further ado, let's do the whips. So I started out, I last filmed about 2 weeks ago. So it was probably right about the end of financial year, and life was just, my work tends to go like that at the end of financial year. So it was all I could do to do anything in the evening. So basically my default, I can't even think, has been the aura of autumn. And I forgot to bring my picture to show you what it's going to look like. So I'll insert something. And I am working on the panel with the park bench. Artwork is by Leonid, Afremov. It's an Artecy chart. I think that covers all the basics. And so we're about halfway through yet another page. I will, I think, last time you saw it, it was round about that black post. That is the light post that you can see in the preview image, and you can start to see the back of the park bench coming to life there. So this is only the the second or third row of pages? It must be the third row of pages, I think. I don't know. There's 8 rows of pages, and we're still quite a ways down the bottom. And yet, by the time you get to the far end of this row, all but the topmost corner of that park bench will be done. So that's going to leave an awful lot of background. I don't know how we're going to go with that. But like I said, this is my mindless stitch. So background, foreground, it's just another X with another symbol. Just keep going. Try and bring it in. Actually, it's kind of cool to look at it in the camera because I don't, when you're stitching on it, I'm so focused on this column. I hadn't realized how much park bench you can actually see there from the top. So definitely have to finish this column. Then I think there's 2 more full columns and then a little tiny column. So I'll probably do 1 more column and then I'll have to shift the Q snap, and I'll try and time it so that you guys can see it in a full out of the Q snap, even if I have to film a little segment or something to insert, so that you can get a full overview picture where it's at. But so that had quite a few days. Mostly just, like I said, evening. Can't even be bothered to think. I did pull out, I can't remember whether I said this last time or not. I pulled out a new project from the deep stash. So this was stuff that I had started before I gave up, or kind of had a big pause on cross stitching. When my eldest, right after she was born, it fell away and I got distracted with other things. And so it wasn't until 2 or 3 years ago that I picked up my cross stitching again. So this was started when my eldest was just born, and it was going to be her Christmas stocking. I have some photos of where it started when I pulled it out that I will put in for comparison. This is just done on the kit Ada. It's a dimensions kit. I didn't bring my board, and you can see through it. Yeah, so when I pulled this out, I thought, oh, you know, there's not actually that much in there left to do. This will be really quick. I'll finish it up. But I'm a little miffed at 20 years ago me, a bit less, 17 years ago me. I knew, like, all this white, I'm sure that's new since the photo where I picked it up out of the deep stash. And I knew I often deliberately leave white to the very end. However, all through, say, like his beard and in these bits of trim or in along the edges here, there'd be little random missed stitches, you know, just 2 or 3 of a color. Clearly I didn't feel like starting a new thread to finish off those, and they're just everywhere. So I've been trying to finish those up, which means my progress has actually been, you know, bit here, bit there, bit everywhere. There's been a reasonable amount of progress in his basket, simply because this doll looked really, really spooky. She still does a bit, but she's getting better. I just couldn't handle looking at her. Yeah, so essentially I've been filling in white. And as I go through filling in white, I try and figure out what the heck else I've missed and fill in bits of that. I have a problem. Somewhere down in this toe, I've mucked up my counting, and at this point I am not going to figure out where it was and fix it. But I'm essentially a stitch short to round out that toe, so I'm just fudging it as I go along. You can see there's a little bit of a guideline stitch. That's where, according to the chart, it should end. So when I get up in here, I will just basically make sure it comes out and looks rounded and pretty. But beyond that, just gonna go with it. So I made a actual firm goal. Like I said, this was started for my eldest. She's gonna turn 17 in June. No, she did turn 17 in June. Oh my goodness, we're already past that. Yeah, clearly I missed all her early Christmases. But I am bound and determined to have the stitching on that at least completed before she graduates, which I have till November. But yeah, got to keep working at it. I'm struggling a bit with the dark blue Ada. And it's not because it's Ada, it's just that dark color. I find my eyes are not what they were 20 some years ago when I was doing this. And so if I try and stitch this in the evening, it's really hard. Yeah, it's just one of those projects. Between all the mistakes I made, between the struggling with the Ada, I'm just going to try and basically every day, a couple of stitches, a couple of threads into it every day, and then I will go on to something else that I actually enjoy. I'm a bit afraid if I put it away, I won't pull it out again, given all the issues I've discovered and whatnot. So I tried to work on this while I was, we were on our road trip to Brisbane. But unlike roads in the US where you travel and you're on a nice interstate and it's relatively flat, for the Yanks, it's a bit like traveling long distances on county highways. It is very bumpy, and you know, yeah, it just, with the dark Ada and the roads and everything else, that was not getting much stitching in the car. I had better luck with Celtic Summer, but still not phenomenally. So that was a dimensions kit. I don't even know the name of it off the top of my head. Sorry guys, I forget. I don't like my glasses on with the glare. I'll try and look up and put the name of the dimensions kit. I think it should be on the chart so that if you want to go looking for it, you can find it. I want to say Rooftop Santa, maybe? I don't know. All right. The other thing I worked on was Celtic Summer. Like I said, I had a bit better luck with this in the car. Not fabulous, but I had more incentive too. This one, because we were heading to Brisbane, I needed to pick beads, and I got in touch with All Threads Embroidery in Norman Park, and they're not open for browsing, at least not when I was there a couple of days ago, but she met me at the door and she helped me pick beads that would work for this. So before I got there, I wanted to have enough of the metallic in that you could see what it was going to look like. So I spent basically the last 2 weeks putting in metallic and nothing but metallic. You can't really see it very well, all the shine. So there's metallics now in the medallions. And I put some metallics up in the words. I basically was just trying to spread them out, bit of metallics everywhere they go, so that I had a better idea of what it was going to look like when I started putting beads on top of it. So this is Celtic Summer, a lavender lace. This is 28 count cashel linen that's horribly mangled, dyed by myself. And let me pull the beads we finally ended up with. We're going to have to do this in groups. Okay, so those of you who remember my last fiasco trying to get beads, the idea was to get 2 orange ones, 2 blue ones, and then just kind of fudge it. from there and see what we liked. So those were the orange ones I ended up with. And the top one, I believe, is the orange that I had originally ordered the first time around that didn't work so well. So I also have these brown ones that I could use. I don't think I will, but you know, never say never. They're going to live with the project until I make final decisions. But I expect I'll use the bottom two more than the really dark ones. So there's those. These ones are actually one of the called for beads, and it matches the greens that are used in her hair and around the medallions. So I've got that one as well. I'm pretty sure some of those go in her hair. And then to match the blues, we ended up with those two, which I thought were a pretty good color match and a much better size match than my first lot, or first attempt. So I think that will well and truly give me enough to play around. I may not do a direct swap, all the threes get one color, you know. I may do a bit more fudging of the design in that regard. But basically, I think I've got enough that when it comes time to do the beading, I'll make something work at this point. The last thing I had originally gotten, those ones, they were the originally charted ones for going through the middle, in all those little stars. And I kind of go back and forth on these ones. I don't think that's bad. But then, professional floss tubers do it with all the bits and pieces. So those are the 557 gold. And I wonder whether they won't be better in there. It's a very good match to that metallic. So again, this is probably one of those, I will keep them both in the project stash and make a decision when I actually come to stitch it as to which ones I'm going to use. So that was clearly my stash from All Threads Embroidery. If you're in the Brisbane area, very good resource, very friendly, very accommodating. Those of us who show up out of town with dramas to solve. Yeah, highly recommend. Go support your LNS. Wish I was closer and could get there more often, but I'll be back in Brisbane another day and have to go check it out again when I can actually see the inside of the store. Super quick insert here. Somebody asked in one of the comments on one of my older videos, if I'd share the conversion that I'm doing for Celtic Summer, and I will. As per the other conversions that I've done previously, I will eventually get it up on that blog website that I've resurrected. I probably won't do it until I have her finished and can just document the whole thing all at once. So stay tuned. I will put it in as soon as I can get her finished and get it all settled. So the other couple of random stash things, because we were driving, you know, hours and hours, you get to random little town, and you just got to get out of the car for a while. So we pulled over in Billawheeler and needed to grab some lunch. So there was a bakery there, and in my family, we judge a town by the quality of its bakery. Billawheeler is a really good town. And right next to the bakery was a Denny's or a Salvo's. I don't even know which brand it was. An op shop. I'm pretty sure the Yanks have the sell those. Like a Goodwill. Same thing. So my kids make a beeline for the Vinnies, whatever it was. And the girls start giggling and digging through dresses, and we didn't have anywhere else to be, and I didn't want to get back in the car, so I wandered over to the craft section. And it was a bit bummed there wasn't anything too exciting in the actual craft supplies, but they did have a fair bit of magazines. And I've been kind of debating doing a bit of more traditional embroidery. So I just picked up, they were like 10 for $1. So I basically picked up any magazine until I had 10 that was, you know, more traditional embroidery for a whopping $1. So I will have to go through those at some time. I'm not going to page flip through every one of them. At some point I have to commit, sit down and pick a project I actually want to start and have a go. But it won't be today. The other thing we did while we were in Brisbane, one of our shopping outings was to go to IKEA because we don't have an IKEA in Townsville. And I was particularly after some stuff to organize my craft room. They didn't have, I've got a couple of the 9-drawer Alex drawers for my mixed media and card making type supplies. And I was after some of the wider ones that I'm pretty sure will fit almost an A2 size paper or canvas or whatever you have that you want to lay flat. But those were out of stock, so I didn't get my drawers, which is kind of a bummer. But I mean, I can order them from up here and have them shipped. So maybe I will eventually, but it's not exactly the highest priority in my life. But of course you're wandering through IKEA and you can't leave empty-handed, can you? So there was a stack of just random sorter boxes. I'm kind of wondering if these, it's a bit deeper than your average floss box. I'm wondering if it'll be deep enough to fit some of those, like the rainbow galleries that come on the cards. So basically I just, a couple of bucks. I'm like, I'm not going to pass it up. I'll find something to use it for. So we'll try those threads. Otherwise, we'll see where else it ends up. The unexpected find that I'm really quite pleased with at IKEA was these display units. And I should have brought the tag, but they're essentially just a shadow box. They got a magnetic latch, you know, hang them horizontal or vertically. The inside is foam, so I can pin things to them for display purposes. And I thought, you know, around the she shed, these would be perfect because I can put something in them for a while that I finished, change it up, you know, ad hoc. These will stay on the wall, but I can change the contents on a regular basis as I see fit. Yeah, that plastic doesn't go with it and it doesn't have the sticker. I'll put a name. I'll look up off the box and put the name of the units. So I actually ended up buying 3 of those. And I think I will put them all on the wall you see behind me as soon as I can get my husband to finish up the wall so I can hang anything on it. I have kind of a backlog of all sorts of stuff to be hung up in here. But, you know, when you're building things, no idea what that was. When you're building things around a full-time job and all the rest of it, the priority is not always to get the niceties done first. But he leads me to believe it's really relatively quick job to finish up these walls so I can start hanging things. So maybe I need to start pushing that a bit more. So I think that covers the whips and the stash. I think I will leave this here, and so in my next video we'll do probably the June recap, the finish parade, and the goals for the second half of 2020. So Until then, I will see you guys another day. Keep safe. Happy stitching. Bye.